Morning, everyone, and welcome. We're going to wait just a minute or so. Clock behind me says we're just past 11, but it's slightly fast. So we'll give it a minute or two to start because there's still people joining. And once we have people online, we'll start. And thanks for joining this morning. Okay. So folks, we have 30 people on, but let's make a start anyway, I think, because I don't want to hold people who've joined us this morning. So first thing to say, you're all very welcome. This is a presentation that follows on from Enterprise Ireland's announcement of our annual results at the start of January, which are your annual results. They're the annual results of our clients. We want to start a process of sharing a little bit more about what we're seeing in the market for the benefit of our clients. We're currently out at the moment with the latest version of our annual business review, which has landed in everyone's inboxes a few weeks ago with a couple of weeks left till the deadline for closing out. That gives us a great sense of what's happening for our clients in terms of their economic impact to the country. And that therefore gives us a huge amount of data that lets us advocate on behalf of clients, make sure that we can provide the kind of supports you need and continue to increase the level of service we provide. So we really appreciate your engagement with everything EI does, and particularly with this annual business review, which is a very important part of our calendar. We will come back to you after the ABR and share a little bit more on this year's trends. There's a lot happening out in the world, so we want to give everyone a little bit of data back in return for all the work you do. The first thing to say, though, is these are your results. They're Enterprise Ireland's clients' results as opposed to our results. So we want to share a little bit more about what we're seeing on your behalf as we aggregate up the impact. And I'm going to talk you through this morning a couple of things, including the results that we announced at the start of January, a little bit about exports from last year, and a little bit about the trends that we're seeing, as well as some of the things we're going to be doing during the year to support you. So without further ado, I'll move on to what EI's headline slide. So we are the Economic Development Agency for Irish businesses. I think everyone online will understand that. Hope everyone online will understand that. We invest in most innovative Irish companies throughout all of their stages of growth, and we have 40 offices around the world from where we support our clients in anything we can be helpful with. Our strategic ambitions set out in a plan at the start of 2021 for 3 years include continuing job creation, regional impact through export growth and diversification, making sure that we continue to build Ireland as a world-leading location to start and scale a business through more entrepreneurship, more startups, more scaling of companies, and more focus on skills and diversity. Critically, making sure that companies show up competitively through innovation, digitalization, and transformation of their internal productivity, that companies are more and more capable to compete in the world with their global peers. And then very topically and very importantly, that Irish enterprises will do their business more sustainably. So from a national point of view, we have carbon reduction targets which need to be achieved, including on behalf of enterprise, where there's a 35% reduction required by 2030, but also showing up in the world with a sustainability plan. My firm belief is that within the next 1 to 5 years, companies that don't have sustainability plans will be out of or significantly marginalized in their markets. And then the upside to all of this, I believe we have a huge amount of green economy opportunity, and you'll see that when we come to the growth figures for 2022. This is our fastest growing segment, sustainability oriented businesses. And then for ourselves, but especially for our clients, we want to be the world's most successful enterprise development team, be future ready, continually increase our client service proposition, and be a more strategic partner to clients. So not just thinking about us in terms of finance and funding, but also in terms of how we can shape the ecosystem that you work in Ireland, and how we can shape the global readiness that companies have through strategic influence of our own government system and of systems around the world. So those are our strategic ambitions for the business. I'm going to go in now to the key performance indicators. So of those, we've set targets of 45,000 new jobs created by 2024. We're ahead of that target, thankfully. We've set targets that exports will grow to 30 billion by 2024. Again, proportionally, our client base is ahead of that. We also want to see more companies scaling. 10% increase in the number of companies achieving sales of over 10 million by 2024, which is a substantial number, but one that I believe is important to set the ambition level. I believe Irish enterprise can be a huge amount more of this economy than it is today, and I intend that we'll continually focus, and especially this year, on that scaling agenda. Innovation, as I've said, is key to productivity, and we do have an ambition that enterprise expenditure in R&D will reach 1.4 billion by 2024. Productivity, we want to see increase by 2.5% annually, up from a run rate of somewhere between 2.1 and 2.2 when we measured it. And as I said, sustainability, we have a key target of achieving a 35% reduction in emissions from the enterprise sector by 2030. And again, with any of these targets, Enterprise Ireland does not achieve these targets. Our clients achieve these targets, and it's important that we're here to support you to create the growth that enables these to be met. So it's really important to say. The other thing I should have said at the start is we have a Q&A function, which you'll find in the Zoom app. So if anyone has a question as I talk, feel free to record it there. When I finish speaking, I'll stop and pick up the questions, but you'll have every opportunity to ask questions, and I'd encourage people to do so. So moving on from the KPIs, we have seen very strong growth in 2022. So nearly 20,000 new jobs created. That leads to a net job employment gain of nearly 11,000 in the Irish economy, an increase of 5%, and our second best year ever, the best one having been 2021. So we've seen really strong growth in jobs, which is a key determinant of economic contribution from Irish companies. We now have over 218,000 people employed in Enterprise Ireland-backed companies, and 64% of new jobs created last year were outside Dublin. And you can see how we've got some great companies here creating jobs. As you can see, Hanley Energy, Tricell, Vitalograph, just 3 examples of large job announcements in the regions of Ireland from our clients. And that job growth is mirrored across the regions. So we have a huge number of jobs being created, as we said, but also we're seeing growth across all regions, leading to a 68% total employment outside Dublin. So really strong contribution across all of Ireland from Enterprise Ireland clients. And key thing with that employment that you create is that it is critical to the regions in which you operate. You know, the more rural and regional your business is, the more important you are to that local economy. We certainly value that, and will continue to support companies across Ireland, but especially in those regions where their local impact is highly significant. We're also seeing very strong job growth across sectors. Food was our smallest growth sector, but that's starting from a base of 55,000 people employed. So seeing positive growth is certainly a good trend in food. We're seeing growth then across life sciences, engineering, construction and housing, technology and services. Despite the downturn in global tech, Irish companies are adding jobs in tech generally, and we expect to see that trend continue. But as I mentioned earlier, our strongest growth is in climate sustainability and agri-tech jobs. Those are sectors that are adding jobs faster than other sectors. And I think that's no surprise given the significance of this agenda globally. If you look at exports, which is the other side of the coin, we tend to focus when we talk about client impact on jobs and exports as probably 2 of the key leading metrics versus our 30 billion target for the end of 2024. We saw a very good start at the end of 2021 on that, with a 12% growth to over 27 billion. And that was a record year of export growth in absolute growth terms. So really strong and positive year, with the Americas growing to nearly 20% of exports, UK actually growing to 31%, which despite Brexit was a great result. Eurozone and Central and Eastern Europe growing to 25% of exports for the first time. And some great results in Middle East, Africa and India, Nordics and Asia Pacific also. So really positive growth again in exports across all sectors. We are doing, as I mentioned earlier, our ABR for 2022 at the moment. And thanks to those of you spending some time on it right now, that is going to give us data for 2022, which I expect to also be positive based on what we're hearing from clients, but also based on the consumer demand and the market strength that's out there at the moment. And if I look now just for a second at two of our key priorities, growing and scaling world-class Irish companies, how do we help in that? First of all, we need to increase the top of funnel impact of startups. And in that case, we're seeing 161 early stage company approvals in 2022. That includes 91 high potential startup approvals, and many of you will have come from high potential startups, I'm sure, and 70 pre-seed approvals. 44 of those under a new fund launched in September 2022. So the pre-seed approvals are what people might have known as the Competitive Start Fund, or CSF, previously. So we've reshaped that offer during 2022, and it's starting to have significant impact. On the other side of the coin, for companies that are growing and are already large, we do help companies around the world with growing their business. And in 2022, we saw 1,271 new overseas contracts secured with Enterprise Ireland assistance. We also have seen 238 companies entering new markets around the world. And again, the impact of our overseas network is huge. I hear it every day from clients. We will continue to focus in this area and to try to grow our impact. And again, you can see that there is huge optimism around people expecting growth. So 91% of clients are expecting export growth in 2023. That's of a survey of nearly 600 companies completed in September 22. What I really like about this stat is that the survey was conducted at a time that was very difficult. We're facing into a really uncertain winter in terms of the impact of the horrible war in Ukraine, energy prices and related matters. And we still saw that 91% of 600 companies who are our strongest exporting companies were expecting growth in this year. And I hope that that confidence has continued throughout the winter. Certainly the feeling I get from speaking to clients is that it has. So I'm going to pause on the results piece and talk a little bit about what we're seeing for 2023. And again, I will be brief. I've got another 5 minutes to go, and I'd be really keen then to look at the questions we've received and see what we can answer that's on people's minds today. So the global environment is vastly uncertain, I would say, is probably the simplest way to put it. If you look at the left-hand side of this slide, I think it amounts to challenges for Ireland and for the global economy. There's a lot of uncertainty in the markets. Inflation and energy have been rampant, and although it's abated a little bit in January, there's a big question at the moment about whether inflation will remain persistently high or whether it will abate, and I think the jury's out on that, frankly. We know that that Brexit is evolving as we speak, and over the last weekend even. So I won't comment further on Brexit here, but also that competitiveness, if you add up these different factors, is a challenge all around the world. It's also a challenge in Ireland. If you look at the right-hand side of this slide, it's probably a mix of challenge and opportunity. Technology is a massive enabler for Irish companies, but it's a massive enabler for all companies. I think if you're a company that's on the right side of technological progress and integration, you can do extremely well, no matter where you are in the world. We want Irish companies to be extremely well positioned versus their international peers on technology. Supply chain, likewise, hugely challenging for a lot of companies at the moment, an area of concern, with lots of people being affected broadly by supply chain during COVID-19. That has abated a bit in terms of some of the major impacts. Container prices are down. Commodities like steel have been down, but we saw with the war in Ukraine, numerous other supply chain challenges arise. And I don't believe for a minute that they have gone away. We're also seeing shortages in key technical components for finishing work, such as chips and the like. So we remain concerned about supply chain. But that said, there is work going on by companies around revising their supply chains, bringing them closer to home, making them more predictable. If Irish companies can be part of that supply chain reinvention story, they will do very well. Skills and labor markets, likewise. I've met a lot of clients in recent weeks. What I've heard as a common refrain from people is that labor and skills are their single biggest underlying challenge. If you take away some of the more time-bound ones, such as inflation or supply chain concerns, this is the underlying key concern of most companies. Now, I think that again can be both an opportunity and a challenge. We've a very highly talented labour market in Ireland, albeit that labour and skills are scarce. But labour and skills are scarce everywhere. I think it's happening across the world. There's an opportunity for Ireland if we can get our story right in terms of lifelong learning, in terms of recruitment, in terms of upskilling people. I think we can turn this into an advantage for Irish companies. And sustainability is, as I've said, massively challenging for companies, but a huge opportunity if you can be ahead of the game as a company in terms of your sustainability performance, or if you're a company in this market that sees an edge for yourself, there are massive opportunities to be had. Just want to talk about our priorities in 2023. That's as Enterprise Ireland. We are going to continue to focus on sustaining and growing high quality employment in all regions of Ireland. That is the core value add that our clients make to this country, and we're keen to support you to continue to grow. We're going to help clients focus on competitiveness through sustainability, innovation, and digital capability. And if you haven't engaged with us on these, I'd encourage you to do so, because we have very strong offers in all of these areas. We're going to continue to build export markets in partnership with Irish companies and their global customers. And again, the best way to assure your company's future is to be diversified into as many economies as possible that are profitable for you. So that remains a key focus for us, and notwithstanding any global challenges, we believe that continuing to grow your markets makes sense for all companies. And then we're going to work to create a program of continued scaling for high potential Irish companies. We want to create the next wave of global leaders out of Ireland, and we will be back talking to you about how we make your company or enable your company to be one of those. So part of that for us is a client competitiveness program that we're going to deliver during 2023. We have a new client solutions hub, which will help clients access more of our capability building supports across 5 areas. And those 5 areas are funding, helping your business think about how to access the next wave of funding. And even in a short time in this role, I have seen a lot of companies run up against funding constraints. I think being ahead of those things, anticipating them, hugely important. Sales and marketing, helping companies with their sales and marketing strategies. We do a huge amount of work in this space, as it is with companies, through market discovery and strategic marketing, digital marketing, making sure that we make our clients more aware of what we can do and where we can help, in addition to our overseas network with programmatic supports. Helping companies manage costs and supply chains. And again, understanding that global complexity, sharing with you what we've learned from across our client base and helping you manage your supply chains, as well as making investments to help you make your supply chains more resilient. Skills and talent, always, as I said, top of, for at least the last couple of years, top of everyone's agenda. Scarce skills and talent will continue to be an issue for all our clients. I don't think that's going away. I think we're in a full employment economy. It's been interesting, even with recession looming. Hopefully it's receding now as a challenge. Skills and labor it's never seemed like there's going to be slack in that market, or the slack is going to re-emerge in that market. So I think how you manage your talent and skills as a strategic resource, how you continue to bring the best people into your company, and how you upskill them for life, I think that's a source of very strong competitive advantage for those who get that right. And then lastly, driving business efficiency. We have a large team in Enterprise Ireland that helps with operational efficiency, operational excellence programs, lean, also digital programs, and as I said, innovation is probably your fastest route to margin and growth, no matter who you are. And then and those are some of the pillars we're going to be rolling out around. So we'll have insights and practical advice available across all of these from our team. So that's it. We're going to go to how we can help now in terms of any Q&A that people have. So Mo has asked how you engage with the EI Competitiveness Program for 2023. Thank you for the question. We'll be pushing out on this through our DA community in the coming days. So we'll make sure that gets to you, but we'll come back to you bilaterally on that. So just wondering, are there any more questions that people have? And you can ask me questions on what I presented today, or more generally. I'd be more than happy to take questions. We're recording this also, so if there's anything that you haven't wanted to ask today or didn't occur to you, we're happy to take the follow-up at any point. So I'll just open the floor again and see, is there anything like that? One other question we have here is what are the forecasts for job numbers for next year, given the recent FDI tech job losses? So a nice, easy question to kick off with. Yeah, we're optimistic. I think that our clients are keen to add roles in general. I'd love to hear alternative views to that from the audience, if there are any. Definitely lots of optimism out there. Tech job losses are ongoing. They're going to hit Ireland as they've been hitting globally, and we're hearing some announcements of that over recent days, even from additional companies. I do think, first of all, to address that the strength of the tech industry globally is not going away. So I think we're going to continue to have a global tech industry that will be significant. I think there's a correction going on at the moment. In most cases, it seems like the correction is only going back about 11 months in terms of headcount, global headcount. I think Irish companies will continue to be resilient. Lots of the earlier stage companies we deal with had already scaled back their ambitions and their plans in as early as April or May last year. So I think Irish companies have been cautious, but they also continue to hire. I'm talking to companies every day that continue to hire, so I'd be optimistic. Liam, thank you for your question. You're asking, is there a DTIF plan for 2023? And if so, has the area of focus been determined? So there definitely is a DTIF plan for 2023. It will go out. For those who don't know, DTIF is Disruptive Technology Innovation Fund, and that call will issue during Q1. The area of focus hasn't been determined just yet. But we're kicking around a few ideas. I won't mention them here now because I don't think they've been closed. But certainly we have a few ideas around focus. Liam, we would like to hear from you of any thoughts you have about areas of focus. We might have those as well, because the DTIF, for those who don't know, is a very substantial funding instrument in terms of grant aid for collaborative innovation. It lets companies work together on themes that are about 3 to 5 years from market, with substantial support from the state. So if there's ideas people have around where we might focus, we'd love to hear them. And Mo, just you're asking, one of the main challenges as a startup SME, we find it harder to attract and retain talent. Are there any initiatives to help companies like mine? So we have one very specific one. There's a Tech Nomads event coming up on the 22nd of February. It's a careers fair being run in the complex in Dublin. And we'll come back to you, Mo, bilaterally with some information on that. But that's one. We do have a HR-focused team as well that helps people understand strategically how to position themselves. They run webinars and the like. And more generally, we can connect you with other startups and help you understand how to access talent as well. So there's a number of different ways we help. This will definitely, your question though, will be answered more comprehensively by the client competitiveness initiative that I mentioned earlier. Guys, any more questions from the floor? And I'm happy, if not, that we keep it short. I know this isn't a massive audience, but Delighted to get your questions while I'm online. Tig is asking, are there any funding and supports re-attracting young people into apprenticeship programs? So Tig, yes, mostly from Solus, I would say, but we have a strategic relationship with Solus. So we work closely with them and with the National Apprenticeships Office. So if you have any questions about how we can work together with those bodies, we'll be delighted to hear them. We've been part of the recent launches of the National Apprenticeship Office programs and other areas. We speak to Solus, and I speak to Solus myself on a monthly basis, and we have a team that is dedicated just to working on skills agenda. So there certainly are supports available from them. And on top of that, probably not direct funding supports from EI, but I think we're always open to hear if there are challenges around attracting apprentices and making that work financially. It's good intel for us, Tig. So we might again come back to you bilaterally on that. It's just no more questions coming, I think, in the chat, and thanks to those of you who did ask questions. We note who you are, and we'll come back to you bilaterally just with connections on those points you've raised. We're keen though to hear your feedback more generally. So I don't want to hold people this morning. I'm conscious it's the day after a bank holiday weekend, so the timing isn't brilliant. To mention to you, this is partly by way of sharing some of our data while you're filling in our ABR, which is a significant undertaking for people. So we appreciate the effort on that. But we will come back to you continually with more information around aggregated impact of you, our clients, on the Irish economy, and hope that's useful. Maurice Regan has a hand up, and Maurice, I'd be happy to take a question live if you want. I'm looking at my technical team to see if I can do that, or if you want to type it, whichever works, Maurice. I think I can. There you go. Maurice, do you want to? I think you can speak now. We've unmuted your line. Or maybe it was an accidental hand raise. Might have been accidental. Yeah, hands down. Sorry, Maurice. That was, I know how it is. I don't use Zoom very often myself these days, so you tend to have those. Folks, we will call it there. Just to say thanks to everyone for participating, for being open to ask a few questions, and keep the dial and keep it interactive today. Really appreciate your time. If there's any feedback on this format or on the areas you'd like to see more of, please just come back to me. And thank you very much for attending. Take care.